Okay, so having our camera zoom into a completely random arbitrary point in our level probably isn't very useful. Let's see what we can do about getting it to zoom into that final goal peg when our ball gets close to it. Now, this is going to involve almost no actual Box2D. This is mostly just Flash stuff. So if you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on this anyway, you can probably skim through this section. But in case you don't, let's keep going. So I guess first things first, I probably want to delete this zoom to command in my camera. So let's do that. Now the next step, let's at least go through the process of turning some of these pegs that we've got in our level into goal pegs. I think that would probably be nice. We haven't actually done that yet, and maybe it'll start to make this look a little more like a game. So first things first, I'm actually going to go into my peg actor, and let's create a function called setType. And this will be a new type that will be an int. And basically what I can do is I can set my peg type equal to the new type, and we'll call setMyMovieFrame just to make sure that we then, if a peg has been turned into a goal peg, we actually go to the appropriate place in the movie clip so it looks like it. Okay, so now that I've done that, let's go through the process of turning some of our pegs into goal pegs. So let's go back to our main Puggle application here. Let's see here. I am going to create a variable called goal pegs. And this is going to be an array. And I'm doing this because we are going to need to keep track of these things. Eventually we're going to want to know if there's only one peg remaining in our goal pegs that needs to be hit. So we'll do that here. And we can obviously set this to be an empty array when we create our application. And at this point, I'm going to jump into our create level function, which, by the way, you can jump to any function definition just by clicking within the function call and pressing F4. I guess in this case, I didn't need to do that since I'm jumping 5 lines down. But let's look at what we want to do here. We are creating all of our pegs here. Now, probably what we want to do is keep track of these pegs we're creating and pick a bunch of them at random and turn them into goal pegs. Now, it looks like once I create them, I sort of forget about them except for pushing them into this all actors array. So I'm going to create a temporary array here called, let's call it all pegs. And when I create this new peg, in addition to adding it to the all actors array, I'm going to add it to this all pegs array. With me so far? By the time we're done creating all of our pegs, not only will they have been added as actors into our scene, but I am keeping track of them all within this all pegs array. Now let's do a very simplistic version of turning one of these things into a goal peg here. I'm going to create a random number, and this will be math.floor, math.random times the length of our all pegs array. This basically gives me a number between 0 and all pegs length minus 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my all pegs array at this random peg num location. Since I know that is a peg actor, I'm going to cast it as such. And then I'm going to call setType peg actor goal. And assuming I've typed everything in correctly, this code will take one of the pegs that I have added to my all pegs array and turn it into a goal actor. So let's run this and make sure this works. So, all right, look at that. Looks like one of our pegs in our world has randomly been selected to be a goal peg. So, yay for us. Next thing I'm going to do is jump back into my code, and I will keep track of this peg in my goal pegs array. So within my goal pegs array, I'm going to push this peg actor that we have just turned into a goal peg. So again, by the time I'm done with this, my goal pegs array should now contain one actor in it. That is a peg actor that has been turned into our goal. All right. Now, obviously, for a real Peggle application, we'd probably want to turn more than one peg into a goal peg, and maybe we'll do that at a later point. But for the purposes of showing the camera zoom, it's actually probably easier if we start with just one goal peg. Now, there's actually one more bit of cleanup I'm going to do here. As you know, this whole zoom into the final peg thing only works if we're keeping track of the peg as well as the ball that's actually traveling towards the peg. And we do now have all of our goal pegs stored in an array, but we're not doing anything to store any of our balls that are in motion. So let's do that. Now at this point, maybe I'm going to go back to mirroring the actual Peggle application and only allow one ball on screen at a time. And so I can start to keep track of that and add some of these flags by creating a current ball variable that will be equal to a ball actor. We will initially set it up to be null. And then here's what we're going to do. Let's jump to our launch ball function. And I'm only going to let players launch a ball if the current ball is null. If the current ball is null, then we can do all this fun stuff. And of course, since we've created the new ball here, we will now set current ball equal to this new ball. We also have to remember to go down to our handle ball off screen option and remember to set our current ball equal to null to make sure that we give ourselves the freedom to launch another ball. So let's run all of this. So let's see what we got here. Looks like I've got one peg in my world, like before, although now I'm keeping track of this peg by storing it in my goal pegs array. I also am keeping track of the ball actor that is currently in motion, and I'm doing that by storing it in my current ball variable. And because I'm storing it, I can now make sure that I only launch one ball on screen at any given time. Granted, this makes debugging a little tougher, but now I know what actor I'm going to be checking to see if it gets close to this final peg. And that's about it. So maybe it kind of seems like we took a step backwards. Sure, we managed to turn one of our pegs into a goal peg, but suddenly we've lost the functionality to shoot a whole bunch of balls on screen. And I guess more importantly, we've lost the zoom in effect that we created last lesson. But this is an intermediate step. We will finish the rest of it in the next lesson, and hopefully we will have something that starts to border on cool.